Hi, today's video is on significance test for one sample quantitative data, or a t-test. We will be using the four-step process: state, plan, do, conclude. We will be using this problem to explain the process. Pause the video to read the question thoroughly. State. To start off, you will need to state your hypotheses. The null hypothesis, or H sub 0, is a claim we weigh evidence against and is in the form parameter equals value. The alternative hypothesis, or H sub A, is a claim we are trying to find evidence for and can be in one of the following forms: parameter is less than value, parameter is greater than value, or parameter does not equal value. You will also need to state what your variables signify. For mu, you can state that mu is the true mean, insert context here, in the population. The last thing you need to include is the significance level. Alpha equals 0.05 and alpha equals 0.1 are typical significant levels, though alpha equals 0.01 is occasionally used. For this problem, the null hypothesis is H sub 0, mu equals 300, and the alternative hypothesis is H sub A, mu does not equal 300, where mu is the true mean amount of cola in milliliters in the bottles. We will use the significance level, alpha equals 0.05. Plan. For the plan section, you want to either state the type of test you will be performing if the conditions are met, or the test statistic formula. In this case, the test statistic is T equals sample mean minus null hypothesis mean divided by standard deviation of sample divided by square root of sample size. Before we can solve for the test statistic and p-value, we need to check that the conditions are met. The conditions for a t-test are random 10% and normal large sample. For random, we need to verify that the data come from a well-designed random sample or randomized experiment. For 10%, we check that sample size is less than or equal to 0.1 of the population size when sampling without replacement. If the sample size is large, sample size is greater than or equal 30, or has a normal distribution, the normal/large condition is met. To check normality, use a graph of the sample data. Do not use t-procedures if the graph shows strong skewedness or any outliers. We will perform a one-sample t-test if the conditions are met. The random condition for this problem is met because they use 6 randomly selected bottles. The 10% condition is met because 6 bottles is likely less than 10% of all bottles. For the normal/large condition, we will draw a graph because 6 is not greater than or equal to 30. Because the graph shows no strong skewness or outliers in the sample, the normal/large condition is met. We can perform a one-sample t-test. Do. Now we can calculate the t-statistic. We can use our calculator to find all of the needed values. On the TI-84, press Stat, then choose Tests and T-test. Adjust the settings to match the information given in the problem, then select Calculate to find the t-statistic and p-value. To earn full credit on the step, you need to write down the test statistic degrees of freedom, which is n-1, and p-value. We can use our calculator to do the do step. Because we were given the data rather than a statistical summary, we will first go to the list, which you can get to by pressing Stat, going to the Edit section, and then pressing Edit. Enter all of the given data in L1. Then we will press Stat, then Test, then T-test. Input the data with the null mean 300, the list of data L1, a frequency of 1, and the correct alternative hypothesis, mu does not equal mu sub 0. To earn full credit on this step, we will include the t-statistic, negative 1.58, the degrees of freedom 6-1, or 5, and the p-value 0.176. Conclude. For the conclusion, you will need to compare the p-value found in the do step to the significance level stated in the state step. You can do this by stating, because the p-value of blank is less than or greater than significance level alpha equals blank, we reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. You also need to put your conclusion into context so that you can state that the data provides or does not provide convincing evidence that context. For this problem, we conclude that the p-value is 0.176, which is greater than our significance level of 0.05, so we fail to reject the null hypothesis. We do not have convincing evidence that the true mean amount of cola in the bottles differs from the target value of 300 milliliters. You can also use this 4-step process for paired t-procedures. You go through the same 4 steps as for a one-sample t-test, but perform inference about the mean difference mu sub d instead between 2 variables of the same sample. A common mistake on the AP test is suggesting that a claim is definitely true. We cannot conclude that our claim is 100% correct, so make sure to say that there is or isn't convincing evidence that seems to support our claim. Also, you cannot state that we accept the null or we accept the alternative hypothesis. Make sure to instead say that we reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. One trick in determining whether to use a t or z test statistic is checking the type of data given. You use a t-test for quantitative data and a z-test for categorical data. Also, a t-test is used for testing hypotheses related to the mean, while a z-test is testing claims regarding proportions. An AP exam problem that involves significance tests for one sample quantitative data is 2014 number 5. Thank you for watching.